going to do 3. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Where's all the people out in the hallway? Have them come on in. Good morning. Welcome to Northwest Unitarian Universalist, where we are gathering both virtually and in person as one connected community. I'm Reverend Teresa Rolk. My pronouns are she or they, and I will be your worship leader today. And I am joined by Reverend Julie Brock and Alex Myers on the music end of things, and our tech folks, and all the volunteers who are out there doing things. And I'm joined by all of you, which makes worship happen. If you are a visitor online and would like Northwest to stay in touch with you, please fill out the visitor form. It appears in the chat box. And if you are here in person and new, you can fill out a visitor form that is in the atrium. So take a moment and look around and see who is here with you, who is here worshiping with you, who made the trip here today. And give a wave and wave to those who are online joining us virtually. We are glad that you are all here and welcome. The usual suspects. Welcome all.
I don't know, Alex, some of them look pretty unusual to me. We have a few announcements to share with you. More information about Northwest and its events can be found in your weekly newsletter and on our website, and the upcoming events can be found on the back of your order of service. December will have lots of opportunities for shared and joint worship starting in 2 weeks. So next week we're going to be here again. And in 2 weeks we are going to be, on December 15th, we're going to be in Detroit worshiping for Human Rights Day. Every year Detroit has a big Human Rights Day celebration. And we will have that in Detroit, most likely at First Congregational Church, which is about a block away from the First UU campus, but keep an eye out in your newsletters for specific locations. On December 22nd, we will all be going to Farmington Hills for their big annual solstice celebration. So on December 22nd, we'll be in UU Farmington, and that night will be the traditional candlelight service here at Northwest. And on December 24th, it says December 25th in my worship script, so it might say that on your order of service. It's December 24th. On Christmas Eve, we're going to be worshiping with First Congregational, at First Congregational, and with Farmington as well. So we'll have a whole lot of people there for the traditional Christmas Eve candlelight service. So that's, and then on the 31st, or I'm sorry, whatever the after Christmas service is going to be a Zoom only service. Okay, so quiz, where are we next week? Here at Northwest on the 15th of December. Somewhere in Detroit, most likely First Congregational, on the 22nd of December in the morning, on the 22nd of December in the evening, on the 24th of December in the evening. First Congregational except for Linda, she'll be here. And on the 29th, which is, oh yes, pajama church, excellent, excellent. Unfortunately, UU Detroit is still having issues with their building and their boiler, so their plans for hosting Noel Night have been canceled. If you were planning on going, Noel Night is still happening, you just won't be able to stop by 4605 Cass. And Northwest and UU Detroit are both collecting winter boots for Freedom House Detroit. To adopt a specific size, look at your newsletter and please bring the boots to church by December 15th. If you have any questions, contact Eva. We've been really partnering with the people at Freedom House and making sure the kids there are getting what they need as they are experiencing the US for the first time. And folks, I have what the kids call a jarro, which is a joy and a sorrow. And that is that this is the last time that Reverend Teresa Rolk will be in our pulpit as our minister of pastoral care. She and I have been talking about what this congregation needs, and pastoral care is a ministry of presence. And especially after the election, it's become clear that she cannot be present as much as she would like, and as much as we would like her to. I've said it a million times, if I could pick any minister on the planet to be my minister of pastoral care, I would probably pick Reverend Teresa Rolk, but not at 10 hours a month. So in the meantime, Eli and I are here. Mary is here with her steadfast team, and we will be looking at ways to fill the pastoral gap. We have each other, and Reverend Teresa is not going anywhere permanently. She will still live in Michigan, and she's coming back to help me with A Circle on Joys and Sorrows in January as a consultant. So she will be around. I'm sure if we get overwhelmed, you might see her leading a memorial or two. So she's here today to say goodbye. Actually, she's here to say see you later. But before we begin the prelude, let us all take a deep breath and settle into a time of worship.
Thank you, Alex. The flaming chalice is a symbol of our faith. We light it knowing this morning and every other Sunday that we worship together, many other Unitarian Universalists are lighting a chalice at the same time. I love the image of that across the whole country this is happening. So we light our chalice with words from Northwest UU's mission statement. And I think Julie will light this as we say these words together. Please repeat after me. We light this flame to grow in spirit, knowledge, and action. Accept and challenge one another. Support each other in times of joy and need.
And each week, we also offer this land acknowledgement. We honor and pay our respects to the land on which we live and work, which was violently stolen through colonialism, genocide, and forced removal of its traditional stewards. These stewards are the Anishinaabe, the Council of Three Fires, which include the Ottawa, Ojibwe, and Potawatomi, also known as the Ottawa, Chippewa, and Potawatomi tribes. We also acknowledge people of African descent who were forcibly removed from their land and separated from their families through kidnapping and enslavement. We pay reverence and respect to them for building this country's infrastructure and economy with no compensation to date. And now, if you are willing and able, please rise in body and or spirit and sing our opening hymn together, number 311, Let It Be a Dance.
May I have this dance? Let a dancing song. Play the music stay.
And fill the sky with sailing birds. Let it be a dance, let it be a dance, let it be a dance. Learn to follow, learn to lead. To the rhythm, feel the need. To reap the harvest, let the seed. Let it be
a dance.
let it be a dance
We do.
May I have
This dance with you.
good times and the bad
Bad
times.
times too.
Let it be a dance. Everybody turn and spin. Let your body learn to bend. And like a willow
with the wind.
let
Let
it
it be a dance. Let it be a dance.
let it
Let
be
it
a
be a
dance.
dance.
A child
God is born in
the
gold
sky.
sky.
A time for joy, a time to cry. Take it as it passes by.
Let it be a dance.
Let it
Let
be
it be
a
a
dance we
dance.
do. May I
May I
have
have this dance.
through the good
The times and the bad
times.
times too.
Let it be a dance. Morning star comes out at night.
Look out the dark there is.
If nothing's wrong, then nothing's right.
Let it be a dance. Let it
Be a dance. Let it be a
be a
dance.
dance. Let the sunshine let.
Sunshine, let it rain. Share the
Let the laughter bear.
and turn it
Round and round.
go again. Let it be a dance.
Well, this month, we're exploring the practice of presence. And I know we're all getting excited about the winter holidays, but to be clear, our theme is about the practice of presence, not in the practice of getting gifts, but the practice of being present. So today, we're talking about paying attention to the gifts that life has already given us and that are waiting for us to notice. So with this in mind, I'm going to share a wisdom tale called Peter and the Golden Thread. Peter was a young boy who could never live in the moment. When he was in school, he dreamed of being outside playing. And when he was outside playing, he dreamed of his summer vacation. Peter constantly daydreamed, never taking the time to savor the special moments that filled his days. One morning, Peter was out walking in the forest near his home. Feeling tired, he decided to rest on a patch of grass and eventually dozed off. After only a few minutes of deep sleep, he heard someone calling his name. Peter, Peter! As he slowly opened his eyes, he was startled to see a striking woman standing above him. She must have been over 100 years old, and her snow white hair dangled well below her shoulders like a matted blanket of wool. In this woman's wrinkled hand was a magical little ball with a hole in the center. And out of the hole, a long golden thread dangled. Peter, this is the thread of your life. If you pull the thread just a little bit, an hour will pass in seconds. If you pull harder, whole days will pass in minutes. And if you pull with all your might, months, even years will pass by in days. Peter was very excited by this new discovery. I'd like to have it if I may, he asked. The elderly woman quickly reached down and gave the ball with the magic thread to the young boy. The next day, Peter was sitting in the classroom, feeling restless and bored. Suddenly, he remembered his new toy. As he pulled a little bit on the thread, he quickly found himself playing in his garden. Realizing the power of the magic thread, Peter soon grew tired of being a schoolboy and longed to be a teenager with all the excitement that phase of life would bring. So again, he held the ball and he pulled hard on the golden thread. Suddenly, he was a teenager with a wonderful girlfriend named Elise. But Peter still wasn't content. Instead, he dreamed of what adulthood might offer him. So again, he pulled hard on the thread, and many years flew by in an instant. Now he found that he was transformed into a middle-aged adult. Elise was now his wife, and Peter was surrounded by a house full of kids. But Peter noticed something else. His once jet black hair had started to turn gray, and his once youthful mother, who he loved so dearly, had grown old and frail. With all these new circumstances, they soon bored Peter, and he found himself dreaming and wondering about what the next stage of life might bring. So once again, he pulled on the magic thread and waited for the changes to appear. Peter now found himself that he was a 90-year-old man. His thick dark hair turned white as snow, and his once young wife, Elise, had grown old and passed away a few years earlier. His wonderful children had grown up and left home to lead lives of their own. For the first time in his entire life, Peter realized that he had not taken the time to embrace the wonders of each stage of living. He had never gone fishing with his kids or taken a midnight stroll with Elise. He had never planted a garden or read those wonderful books his mother loved to read. Instead, he had hurried through life, never resting to see all that was good along the way. Because he couldn't wait for what was next, he never noticed the amazing things waiting for him in the present. Peter became very sad at this discovery. He decided to go out to the forest where he used to walk as a boy to clear his head and warm his spirit. As he entered the forest, he noticed that the little saplings of his childhood had grown into mighty oaks. The forest itself had matured into a paradise of nature. He lay down on a small patch of grass and fell into a deep slumber. After only a minute, he heard someone calling out to him, "Peter, Peter!" He looked up in astonishment to see that it was none other than the old woman who had given him the ball with the magic golden thread many years earlier. "How have you enjoyed my special gift?" "At first it was fun," Peter responded, "but now I hate it. My whole life has passed before my eyes without giving me the chance to enjoy it. Sure, there would have been sad times as well as great times, but I haven't had the chance to experience either. I feel empty inside. I have missed the gift of living." "You are very ungrateful. Still, I will give you one last wish. I'd like to go back to being a schoolboy and live my life over again," Peter quickly responded. He then returned to his deep sleep. Again, he heard someone calling his name and opened his eyes. Who could this be? He wondered. When he opened his eyes, he was absolutely delighted to see his mother standing over his bedside. She looked young, healthy, and radiant. Peter realized that the strange woman from the forest had indeed granted him his wish and that he had returned to his former life. "Hurry up, Peter. You sleep too much. Your dreams will make you late for school," said Mother. "If you don't get up right this minute..." Needless to say, Peter dashed out of bed and began to live the way he had hoped. He went on to live a full life, one rich with many delights, joys, and triumphs. But it all started when he stopped sacrificing the present for the future and began to live in the moment. So there's some questions that go with this story, but I'm kind of going to derail the train here and do a little reflection on my own, because the vast majority of people in here are around my generation. And I'm going to tell you my experience of this from the other direction. Wednesday evening, I was laying in bed and just getting all sad and lonely, feeling about how bad Thanksgiving was getting to be, that so many people weren't going to be there that used to be. I remember all the missing family members and all the people that have moved away, and it just gets it seems so lonesome and sad to me. And then, I started thinking about living in the present. This is a Thanksgiving that I got 2 little boys at my house. And, instead of worrying about who's not there, I decided to focus on who was there. And I had the most lovely Thanksgiving, but it didn't start out that way. And I think you can do this stuff both living too much in the past and living too much in the future. So let's think about how to enjoy every moment of our life as it's happening. I think that'll be great. And now we're going to sing our children out. So if you care to rise, you may do so. And we're going to sing our usual song. Oh, we need to give somebody a chalice. Do we have a chalice? We do not. We do? Oh, good. Okay. Brooklyn wants to do it. Eyes be open to
Each week, Northwest UU shares its plate contribution with a community partner. This month, the partner is Michigan UU Social Justice Network, also known as MooseGin. MooseGin is a statewide network of UUs and allies working to create a more just and caring world. All undesignated donations will be split between MooseGin and our congregation. You can give in a variety of ways that will be visible on your screen. If you are here in person, we'll pass the collection basket for checks and cash. We honor your generosity by committing to ensure that our collective resources do a greater good for ourselves and our world than any of us could have done individually. So we'll take a moment for a time of joys and sorrows, jarros, I love that. I've never heard that before. But I want to remind you that anyone needing support of the community can reach out to me. You can email pastoralcare@northwestuu.org. You can come to the weekly drop-in Zoom room, which will continue for the next 3 Fridays in December. You can also set up a one-on-one appointment with me via email. The collective cares of the community right now are being recorded in the Book of Joys and Sorrows, which remains on the red cabinet out there near the name tags. So if you would like to submit a joy or sorrow that way, you can, but you can also virtually do that by emailing it to pastoralcare@nwuu.org or northwestuu.org, right? There was one joy from last week that didn't get announced, and it's by Anonymous. So I don't know whose joy this is, but someone who had a birthday wanted to thank everyone for all the birthday wishes. So if you know who you are, if you're here, you can raise your hand. If not, we will just acknowledge that you had a birthday and you are expressing that joy. That's the only thing that was written down today. So I want to offer a prayer for all of the joys and sorrows that are still being held within our hearts. Spirit of life, Spirit of love, that which holds all, be present to those here who are struggling with what life has offered in this moment. May they find moments of joy, of peace, of clarity, in the midst of whatever is causing them to feel overwhelmed with life. May they remember to be kind and gentle with themselves and each other as they navigate a world that is filled with hatred and anger. May they be reminded that when they feel they are sinking down, this community is a place that will gather round and help mend the pain and sorrow. May they be reminded that this community also exists to gather round and celebrate that which is a source of joy. May each here be blessed with some joy every day of their lives, especially in these trying times. Beloveds, let us share a handful of breaths together, a few quiet moments before we sing hymn number 18, What Wondrous Love, while remaining seated. The lyrics to the hymn will be on the screen.
What wondrous love is this, O my soul? What wondrous love is this that brings my heart such bliss and takes away the pain of my soul, of my soul. Away the pain of my soul. When I was sinking down, sinking down, sinking down. When I was sinking down, sinking down. When I was sinking down beneath my sorrow's crown, and to be gathered round, oh my soul, my soul, and to be gathered round, oh my soul. To love and to all friends I will sing, I will sing. To love and to all friends I will sing. To love and to all friends who pain and sorrow mend, with thanks unto the end I will sing, I will sing. With thanks unto the end I will sing.
I grew up in the Midwest, grew up in Michigan, and for those like me or those who have now lived here long enough, you know what a Midwestern goodbye is, right? In the Midwest, and some people call it a Michigan goodbye, it's said to have at least 9 different steps, and it can extend a leave taking by minutes or up to an hour. Now, if you know this is going to happen, you know to start your leave taking at least 30 minutes before you really need to leave someplace. So very briefly, what it involves is someone says, I guess I better leave, I guess I better get going, that's that kind of move, and then you stand up and you hug people for a whole lot of, go around hugging people. You walk to the door, the kind of entryway, and then you stand and have a conversation. You chat in the doorway. Then it kind of winds down, you give people some more hugs, you reach for the doorknob, then you probably have some little conversation as you're walking out to your car, you get in the car, you wave as you're leaving, the people inside are waving to you as you go. Well, it's about 9 different steps to just take leave. So this prolonged farewell really is a gesture of politeness, and it's meant to show your intention and care for those whom you are leaving. Now, you all have experienced multiple goodbyes from folks in this congregation in the recent past. And they have not always been goodbyes in healthy ways. And I'm not suggesting that the only healthy way to take one's leave is to do a Michigan goodbye, but we do have to communicate with intention and clarity about the leave taking. And I need you to know and really understand and really believe me. Some of you will feel this, my leaving, as yet another loss just one more, and you might start to wonder, well, what's going on? Why is this happening? You might start speculating out loud with your friends. But that's just it. There isn't anything going on. It's happening for precisely the reasons that Julie mentioned and were written in the newsletter this week. So you know that I stepped in here about, well, over a year ago, September a year ago, to fill in a short-term need for pastoral care support. Now, given that I am also a minister in Ann Arbor, serving a congregation of over 500 people, I was only able to promise Julie 10 hours a month. Now, friends, that is nowhere near enough time for pastoral care for any congregation of any size, but it helped during this transitional time. And pastoral care is ultimately a ministry of presence. And while I have been present, mostly via Zoom or phone, I've been at some memorials for you, I've done an occasional service, you need and you deserve a pastoral care minister to be present in person almost every Sunday during the week, to be able to meet you at home or in the hospital or make a visit when needed. And I just am simply not able to do that, as the pastoral care needs in my home congregation are also increasing. So it is with my deepest gratitude to Northwest for allowing me the privilege to serve you. My deep gratitude to the pastoral care team, Mary, who has been leading it, with whom I've collaborated from the very, very beginning. You all are in very good hands with that team. With deep gratitude to Julie for inviting me to help you, to support you in this way. This is an indication of the depth of care she has for all of you. You're all in the process of creating something new and unique. And yes, it's had its moments, but this shared ministry vision can work. I have every faith that Reverend Julie and the leadership staff can do it, but they can only do it with your help and if you are all behind it. Change can be hard, it can be scary, but really change is sort of the only constant in our lives. I invite you to embrace that change. It has been a pleasure working with you, Julie and Alex, and all of you. It is a farewell to me in the role I've had up to now, but it's not a farewell like, I'll never see you again, bye, I'm out of here. It's not that at all. I'll be continuing to work with Northwest more as a consultant, as specific pastoral needs come up, or if needed, to help cover a memorial. And I'm still with you for December, so let's imagine today is the first part of our month-long Michigan goodbye. We could stand out here and hug and do that first part, and then I'll have 3 more weeks of Zoom hours on Fridays. And that will give you some time to process this leaving, and some time for the leadership to help figure out how to support the pastoral needs with someone who can offer you more in-person presence and time. And you deserve that, you really do. I asked that we sang What Wondrous Love today instead of Spirit of Life, your usual hymn after the prayer. And I chose this for a couple of reasons. First, it's just one of my most favorite hymns, but mostly it was for the words. There is a wondrous love that can take away the pain of the soul. And when I was sinking down, friends to me gathered round. That is the essence of pastoral care. And what better way to begin a farewell than to do it by singing with thanks and love to all friends. So I sing to you, dear ones, with my thanks, and I invite you to continue to sing your thanks in the spirit of love for this community. Amen, and may it be so. And so I need a breath, we all need a breath. So we will continue by singing a meditation on breathing very appropriately. And yeah, let's sing.
And I have Reverend Teresa here, who many of you may not know is a fantastic singer.
Well, yeah.
So I'm going to ask her to help me lead this round. And I also promised Michael that he wouldn't have to get a handheld mic today, so we're just gonna, we're gonna do it here. There are 3 parts to this round, and the first one is a drone, the second one is a melody, and the third one is a descant. So Reverend Trace and I are gonna sing them all 3 through once. And then we are going to sing the drone twice, the melody and the drone twice, the melody, the drone, and the descant twice, and then just the melody and the drone, and then just the drone. Don't worry about it, just keep singing. Pick a part you like. Alex understood what I said, and so everybody else just pick a part that you like and start singing, but we're gonna sing through it once, to all of it together, me and Teresa first. Ready? Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. So pick a part that you like, and we're gonna all start together on the drone. Ready? Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out.
And I'll breathe in peace when I breathe out. I'll breathe out love when I breathe in. I'll breathe in peace when I breathe out. I'll breathe out love when I breathe in. I'll breathe in peace when I breathe out. I'll breathe out love when I breathe in. I'll breathe in peace. I'll breathe out love when I breathe in. I'll breathe in peace when I breathe out. I'll breathe out love when I breathe in. I'll breathe in peace when I breathe out. I'll breathe out love. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe
So the days, they're growing colder and darker. And now there's even a soft blanket of snow absorbing most of the noise, making the world feel still and soundless. It's this type of year that I like to turn the services inward, to make them contemplative and quiet. And so I wrote my message out today, which I do from time to time. The solid pulpit helps me steady my energy. The very act of writing can serve as a meditation. And so we approach this time when all the world's religions are telling us to light all the lights and hold fast to the ones we love. The harvest is in. It is too cold and too dark for work. We light fires. We set cauldrons for soup. And now we wait. And we sing. And we tell stories. It is the time of Advent. We chop wood. We fetch water for the fire and for the soup, until the midwinter festivals that will get us through the spring. Except we don't. The world doesn't work like that. I've just gone through a flurry of cleaning and cooking for Thanksgiving, and now there's a flurry of preparation for holiday services to start, not to mention your board and I are about to go through the flurry of logistics for making sure that staff contracts and benefits are squared away for 2025. And most of us have a flurry of shopping and decorating and cooking to do, and some of us have to travel. And those of us with kids, forget about it. We're not resting until 2025. So many flurries of our own that we don't have time to sit with Coco and watch the snow flurries outside. And if snow flurries weren't meant for that, then I don't know what they were meant for. It always feels so strange. Nature and all of our traditions are compelling us to work less, rest more, hunker down, be soft. And our culture is telling us to go, 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 spend, decorate, travel, put your company manners on, go. This year, the idea of rest feels particularly galling. For better or for worse, the entire world seems to be sending the message that things are not working for the average person anymore. This from ABC News. By the time 2024 is done, most voters will have gone to the polls. More voters will have gone to the polls this year than at any other year in human history. Among half the world's living population is living in a country with an election this year, and a clear and consistent picture has emerged. Voters are extremely upset with their governments. Among democracies that held elections this year, over 80% saw the incumbent party lose seats or a vote share from the last election. And that includes democracies of all kinds in all corners of the globe. And it makes sense. Income inequality is worse in most places than it has been in a century, and quality and length of life are receding at a time when technology should be making us all live long and well. It's been a long time now that I've thought this new world order, the one where billionaires fly rockets into space over camps of starving homeless people, that this order couldn't stick. But I was hoping that we as a society would decide that we would simply tell those in power that we demanded a better way. I was hoping that we as people would come together and decide that our neighbors deserved homes and healthcare and basic necessities regardless of situation, skill, or proclivity. We didn't do that. We chose something very, very different. We chose to turn on not the centers of power that hoard wealth, but each other. We chose hate and blame and hurt, and a very clear symbol of those choices is coming in early 2025. And I'm supposed to what? Light a fire? Open an Advent calendar in restful anticipation of rebirth, of joy and hope? All I want to do some days is scream from the rooftops that things are not okay. And then I want to lead a peaceful army of protesters to somewhere to protest, well, everything, all the time, except for the times when I want to lock myself in my kids' room and distract myself with an eternal game of peekaboo, because maybe, just maybe, I too can make myself believe that if I cover my eyes, no one can see me. But I can't do those things either, because someone needs to approve the timesheets. Because life is moving on, as it does, even when we don't give it permission. So what do we do? There's an old Buddhist proverb that says, before enlightenment, chop wood, fetch water. After enlightenment, chop wood, fetch water. I think the phrase is supposed to be a statement of how enlightenment doesn't change your life, just your perspective. And of course, changing your perspective will change your life. And I think it's more than that. I think chop wood, fetch water is also an instruction to enlightenment or salvation or beloved community or whatever you want to call it. The thing where you feel purpose and presence and belonging. There isn't a roadmap to it. So I think the proverb is inviting us to do the ordinary and wait for God to show up or nature to take its course. And if that happens, we'll be saved. And if it doesn't, we still need firewood and soup. One of my favorite theologians is a woman named Renetta Weems. Reverend Weems is a scholar, a writer, and a minister. She's also a Black woman who was ordained in 1985 when the profession was dominated by white men. Reverend Weems tells stories of locking herself in her study to read another book and make another edit. She would want to perfect her writing because she knew she would be judged more harshly than her peers. In her essay, The Grace of Daily Obligation, Weems talks about a time when she was under deadline. Her book was due, and she got a call from the daughter of the matriarch of the congregation. "My mother's dying," she said. "Could you come?" Well, the truth was she couldn't. She was under deadline, and people trying to prove themselves could not miss deadlines. But then again, of course, she had to, because she was the pastor, and pastors don't get time off when the matriarch of the congregation is dying. Weems writes about her excruciatingly long drive out to see her parishioner, how her daughter welcomed her into their little clapboard house on the edge of town, how she said her prayers dutifully and didn't feel like she was making any difference. And then how in her haste to make excuses to leave, the woman looked up and said to her, "Is today tomorrow?" "Excuse me?" answered Weems. "I said, is today tomorrow?" "No, ma'am," answered Reverend Weems, feeling sympathy for her confusion. "Today is Thursday." Weems left the house shortly after that interaction, but she couldn't get the woman's words out of her mind. No, today is not tomorrow, today is today. And right there in front of her, she had the very embodiment of her calling, a pillar of the congregation whose family had called on her as she neared the end of her life. She had been spending all of her time locked away reading theology and philosophy of other scholars because she wanted to write about their experiences, their ideas. And yet, here she was, having her own experience with a real life prophet, reminding her that life was precious here in the present day if only she'd pay attention. Weems said she planned to be a scholar, but all that went out the window when she became a mother. So instead of writing academic works to be foisted on unenthusiastic seminary students, she wrote essays for real-life preachers to use in their pulpits. And this one, it's stuck in my soul for years. Her essay, The Grace of Daily Obligation, it was with me last Sunday. Last Sunday, 3 congregations came together. There was singing and feasting, and it was so lovely, or so I heard. My child, the heart of my hearts, woke up screaming, as he had done several times that week, only this time he didn't stop. He'd been to the doctor, they had told me what they thought it was, but I don't know a mother who can tolerate seeing her child in pain. I was contemplating what to do. I could take him to the ER. I could sit with him until he feels better. But wait, it's Sunday morning and I'm the pastor. I can't not go to church on Sunday. And that sense of duty that I get when I think about how I can't rest up for Christmas because I haven't saved the world yet, it came over me, a sense of obligation to the congregation and my profession, and I knew I had to show up, and I knew I wouldn't be my best, so I called Reverend Karen, and the first words out of my mouth were, "There's something wrong with Donovan." And she said, "Okay." Immediately, right back to me, "Okay, well, you were gonna do a litany and a benediction, and I can do the benediction, and you wrote the litany in the script, so anyone can do that." I was calling to say I might not be my best, and she immediately jumped to, "Your best is at home with your kid." Later, after a rush of gratitude as my child lay resting comfortably with his mother nearby him, guilt and doubt rang in my mind. The litany was my idea. I wanted to do it. I love litanies. What if other people don't like litanies? What if I foisted this on someone? What if there was no one there who wanted to read my litany? And out of nowhere, a voice as clear as the cry coming from my child earlier that morning said, "Reverend Karen was there. Eli was there. You invited Keon and Danae to do the chalice lighting, and you hired Martha as your administrator. There were 4 ministers in the congregation today, and you must have some kind of ego if you think they needed you there." Donovan, on the other hand, only has one mom. Clarity, prophecy, the assurance of doing your duty and truth descending upon you. Later, Eli sent a text of him and Reverend Karen standing in front of a packed congregation with a 20-person choir. And at first I was sorry not to have been there. And then I realized that I was there in a way. I was there at all the coffee dates where Reverend Karen and I talked about our congregations working together, and at worship planning with Todd and Alex, and at every supervisory session with Eli, at every update to the region, through all the uncertainty all 3 congregations have been through. We've still been creating relationships and living our values and showing up on Sunday morning. That is our version of chopping wood and fetching water. And suddenly we look up and this beautiful, beloved community have sort of just formed around us. Enlightenment. God showed up. This is where Weems really gets me. I'll quote her directly for the next part. She uses the word God. You can translate that to whatever term works for you, but the sentiment is a good one. Weems writes, "We expect God to appear in those places where holy men usually conduct their affairs. If God speaks, it will be on the mountaintops, in the caves and sanctuaries, in temples and cloisters, in one's study, surrounded by holy books. Anywhere but the nursery, on the playground, in the kitchen, in the parking lot when we're saying those Michigan goodbyes. Anywhere but at the checkout counter or the bedside of a decaying woman. God shows up only where silence is cultivated and solitude is appreciated and abstinence is the rule. We are told by holy men. But the lessons of holy women run counter to that claim. They teach us to reclaim the ordinary, routine, mundane, unspectacular work of being faithful to love. What in some circles is referred to as the grace of daily obligation. Chop wood, fetch water, enlightenment. Y'all, I didn't know how the service was going to come together, but it did, by the grace of several people performing their routine daily obligations. I don't know what we're going to do with a holiday season that seems to be getting more and more demanding of our time, when our spirits and traditions demand we rest and celebrate. But I do know that every year on Christmas Eve, when the lights in the church go out and we stand in a circle singing Silent Night by candlelight, I feel peace and insurmountable hope, despite myself, every year. And I don't know how we're going to get through 2025, but I do know there were dozens of people at soup the Thursday before last. And I know if trouble comes, where I'll take sanctuary and who with. We will still have fights, but people keep coming to me and letting me suggest that we should circle up and get through those fights together. Chop wood, fetch water. We will continue to have logistical problems of bringing more people together because we don't have the resources to do it on our own anymore. But now we know we don't have to. Chop wood, fetch water. The coming years will be awful for a lot of reasons for a lot of people, but we'll keep showing up, keep building community, figure out how to help our neighbors, and we will continue to expand who we mean when we say our neighbors. Chop wood, fetch water. I hope we keep showing up for the ordinary, routine, mundane, unspectacular work of being faithful to love, until one day we look up and we don't know where this community ends and the radical worldwide network of interdependence starts. And we realize we like it that way. Chop wood, fetch water, enlightenment. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen. You are now invited to rise in body and or spirit and join me in singing hymn number 312, Here on the Paths of Every Day.
It's a little unfamiliar. I'm going to play through the melody once through for you guys. Here on the paths of every day, here on the common human way, is all the stuff the gods would take to build a heaven to mold and make new Edens. Mars the task sublime to build eternity in time. We need no other stones to build the temple of the unfulfilled. No other ivory for the doors, no other marble for the floors, no other cedar for the beam and dome of our immortal dream. It's weird, right?
As we extinguish our chalice, will you say these words after me? We extinguish this flame, but not the light of hope. warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
I'll leave you with the words of Renetta Weems again. Is today tomorrow? The old woman asked, no one in particular, but especially me. Standing over her bed with my mind racing with all the things I'd left at home undone, I felt the brush of an angel across my brow. Is today tomorrow? No. Today is today. Tomorrow is somewhere out there unknown and unknowable where dreams are formed. I think about that old lady's words every time I think I ought to be doing anything other than what I'm doing at the time, or ought to be somewhere other than where I am. I'll never be the writer I would have been had I not become a mother. So I'll just settle for pieces of revelation sent my way and see what, if anything, I can make of them. Because today is today, and that's all I have. Go in peace, return in love. Enjoy the rest of your day.